want to talk about the difference between gerundive phrase and participial phrase. And the reason is because they have some similarities. However, they perform different functions. Without further ado, I will talk about participial phrase, what it means, and the functions and the usage. And I'll talk about participial phrase also, the function and the usage. Then we'll talk about the clear differences between both. So, for the exam purpose, if you are asked, you'll be able to know the difference between them and you'll be able to answer the question correctly. Please take your jotter and your writing material. So you'll be joining with me closely and you'll be able to document one or two things, and then at the end of everything, you'll be able to ask a question parental if there's anything that is not clear to you or not well explicated. Alright, gerundive phrase has a gerund at its end. I'm going to tell you what gerund is. A gerund is a verb form that functions as a noun. It is often called a verbal noun because although it is derived from a verb, it performs the functions of a noun in a sentence. Although it is derived from a verb, it has a form of a verb, but the function is a noun function. Or let me say it functions like a noun in a sentence. Alright, note that not all verbs ending in ing are gerunds. All verbs ending in ing, they are not gerunds, but all gerunds end in ing. All gerunds end in ing, but not all verbs that end in ing are gerunds. You have to take note of that. I am going home. I am going home. Going there ends in ing, but it's not a gerund. It is a major verb or a main verb in that sentence. Perform the action of going. Have is a primary auxiliary verb supporting the main verb, which is going. But going home is my hobby. Going home is my hobby. You see the way I've changed it. The same going that functions as a main verb in the first construction is the same verb functioning as a gerund in the second construction. Because gerund names an activity or an idea. I'm going to talk about that when we move on. Gerund names an activity or an idea. So going home is my hobby. Going home here is now functioning as a gerund because it's functioning as a noun and it is taking a place of the noun, like it's subject of a verb. Going home is my hobby. Subject of a verb is going home. On the line going home, it is now functioning as what? As a gerund. But I'm going home there, it functions as a verb. That's by the way. So not all verbs end in ing are gerund, but all gerund end in ing. All gerund end in ing. You can never see a gerund that ends in en or ed. Alright, let's move further. A gerund phrase can perform all functions of a noun. All the typical functions of a noun. That is subject of a verb, object of a verb, object complement, subject complement, complement of a preposition, and positive element to a nominal entity. Gerund can function in those perspectives or in those categories because it is a verbal noun. A verbal noun because it functions like a noun, but it has a form of a verb. Let's talk about the first function. Subject of a verb. Swimming in the river is dangerous. Swimming in the river is dangerous. There is something I want you to understand very well. I said every gerund must end in ing. The major word here ends in ing. That's why that is a gerund. But there is something you need to understand very critically. There is something that you need to understand very critically. And it's the fact that if you are talking about a phrase is different from a word. What makes a phrase is the fact that it is not just a word, but a group of words. A phrase is what? A group of words. So you should understand that whenever you are talking about a phrase, it can never and it should not be a word, but should be a combination of two or more words. That's what forms a phrase. A combination of two or more words form a phrase. So swimming in the river should be on the line. But if you say only swimming is dangerous, that is only gerund, not a gerundive phrase. So you have to understand that very well. We're still going to talk about phrase. I'm just trying to come from the perspective of similarities and those words that are similar, those phrases that are similar and may cause confusion. We're still going to talk about infinitival phrase and prepositional phrase. Other example here, where it functions as an object, you enjoy reading over. Reading over here is a gerundive phrase because the S word ends in ing and it is not responding to the verb enjoy. She enjoys. What does she enjoy? So the object of the verb here, the object of the verb enjoy there is reading novels. Reading novels. So reading novel receives an action of enjoying. What does she enjoy? She enjoys reading novels. Alright, number three is now complement, subject complement. That is, there is a subject, but the subject is not yet completed. There is a subject, but the subject is not yet completed. And there is a need for something to complete the subject to make it meaningful. His greatest hobby. If I come to you and I ask you, and I tell you his greatest hobby, would you think something is wrong with me up here? I must be able to complete it. His greatest hobby. What then is his greatest hobby? Playing football. So playing football here is a gerundive phrase which is complementing the subject. Completing from the word complete the subject. That is the subject is not complete, but there is something that needs to complete the subject to make it or to give it a full meaning. So subject complement. Another one is object complement. That is there is an object and there is now something that's not complementing the object. Maybe the object is not complete. So they consider a bad habit. Loudly a bad habit. What is loud? Loudly a bad habit. Argue loudly a bad habit. So they consider it a bad habit. What do they consider a bad habit? They consider a bad habit. What is that habit? What is that bad habit they consider? Arguing loudly. I don't know if you get that. Arguing loudly is what they consider as a bad habit. They consider a bad habit. But does that make any sense? But what is that thing that they consider a bad habit? Arguing loudly. I don't know if you get that. So there is an object that needs to be completed. A bad habit is an object, but it is not yet completed. They consider a bad habit. But what is that bad habit they have considered? Arguing loudly. I hope we get that. Alright, let's go to number 5. Complement of the preposition. Complement of the preposition means that there is a preposition that needs to be completed. That is, there should be something that will come after that preposition that will complete that preposition to make it or to give it a full meaning. To give it what? A full meaning. Then he is fond of. What is he fond of? You should ask that question. So whenever you ask or they tell you something is a compliment, there should be a question that comes to mind. What or whom? What or whom? So he is fond of what? Singing in the choir. And the head word here is what? Singing. And it ends in high ng. That shows what? It is a gerund. He's fond of singing in the choir. Another one is appositive element to a nominal entity. If you're talking about appositive element functions like an adjective, but it's not an adjective. Maybe I'm still going to make a video on this to differentiate the difference between appositive element and an adjective. Adjective also gives more information, but the structure is always different. The structure is always different. It's like you are saying that a noun is talking about a noun. That's what we call appositive. A noun is talking about a noun. But adjective is another part of speech on its own. But the structure will be different. A positive is equal to have a noun-like structure, but adjective structure is different. A positive element is equal to have what? A noun-like structure. That is not talking about a noun or nominal entity. Don't forget, nominal entity is anything that functions like a noun, starting from noun clause, noun phrase, noun itself, pronoun, infinitival phrase, and gerundive phrase. Those are the entities that function as a noun and they are considered as nominal entities. So a positive element is like a noun that is talking about another noun. So a passion is admirable. Our passion is admirable. It makes sense on its own. But what is our passion? Our positive element simply gives additional information like adjective does too, but the structure is always different. What is the passion? Teaching young children. My passion as a person is also teaching. My teaching will be academic. It will be other nothing entirely, but I like teaching. Making something simpler to people. That's what I like. It is my hobby. So our passion, teaching young children. So our positive element here is letting us know or making known to us what our passion is, which is what? Teaching young children. And the head word here is teaching, which ends in ing, and it shows that what? It is a gerund, and it has other components, young children, which makes it a gerundive phrase. A gerundive phrase. So in most occasions, you can understand clearly a positive element by two commas. It is always placed with two commas. But this is the University of Ibadan. University of Ibadan may remove that comma and they will just put it there. But you always know that what we make it to know it's an apostrophe is because it is giving additional information and the structure will always be different from that of adjective. We still going to talk about that. That's not our major focus. Then let's talk about participial phrase before we talk about the clear differences between both of them. Participial phrase is another structure that contains a verb form, but unlike the gerundive phrase, it functions as an adjective. It has its head either in the present participle or in the past form of a verb. So participial phrase or participial can be both present or past tense, which I'm going to be showing to you. The present form ends in ing or en. Having gone to the market, comma, the man slept. Having gone to the market, the man slept. Having gone to the market. So the present form of participle ends in ing or en, while the past form ends in ed. When we get to the example, I'm going to be explaining to you. One thing I want you to know about participial phrase is that participial phrase does not function as a noun. Instead, it functions as adjective. It modifies a noun or pronoun, which means it describes or gives more information about a noun or pronoun. Or let me say nominal entity generally. I think you are further seeing the differences. One function as a noun, one function as an adjective. That is, one describes a noun or gives additional information about a noun. However, one function as a noun itself. The relative phrase function as a noun, participial phrase function as an adjective. As an adjective. I get this now. So it is important that the participial phrase is placed close to the noun it's modified in order to avoid ambiguity. Participial phrase is always placed not far from the noun it talks about or it gives more information about, just to avoid ambiguity. Ambiguity means many interpretations. For us to avoid different interpretations, we should be able or we should put the particular phrase close to the noun that is what it talks about, or it modifies, or it qualifies, or it gives more information about. Now let's now talk about the examples of particular phrases rather. Pardon after many years. Then you will ask, who is pardoned? Who is pardoned after many years? That person that is pardoned, that noun or pronoun must place close to that word, to that particular phrase. In most occasions, comma comes immediately after particular phrase, and what it talks about, what it describes, what it gives more information about, what it modifies must come immediately after that comma. So pardon many years, you see that pardon here ends in past tense, and that is what we call past participle. Pardon after many years, he has learned not to underrate anyone. Don't forget I told you that particular phrase functions as an adjective. An adjective only adds value. That is, it's from a Latin word, I think it's add and jetty. You have jetty, add jetty. So we can even remove adjective from a sentence and the sentence will still make sense. But you cannot remove a noun from a sentence and the sentence will still make sense. Those are the things you have to consider when you want to know the difference between gerundive phrase and participial phrase. One can be removed and the sentence will still make sense. But the other cannot be removed and the sentence will still make sense. No. When we are going to talk about that. And one can be repeated. Don't forget, a noun can always be replaced by a pronoun. And if we say something function as a noun, that is, it should also be replaced with a pronoun, and it should also show us that it is meaningful, even after being replaced by pronoun. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. Let us continue. Pardon after many years, he has learned not to underrate anyone. Don't forget that I can even say he has learned not to underrate anyone, and the sentence will still be complete and will still be meaningful. But what made him not to underrate anyone? Pardon after many years. That is, he has been in prison or he has been jailed for being underrating or for underrating somebody. So that was what made him not to underrate anyone. The man, that's second example. Having found the lady outside has changed his wayward life. Don't forget, I can remove this particular phrase and send them with make sense. I can say the man changed his wayward lifestyle. Yes, it still makes sense. But what made him to change his wayward lifestyle? It is unknown. Then having found a lady after his heart. Having found a lady after his heart. Don't forget having here ends in ing, then we can say it is what present participle. Let's go to the third example. Disappointed by the outcome of the election, the party chairman, who was disappointed by the outcome of the election, the party chairman, refused to eat for 3 days. I can say the party chairman refused to eat for 3 days and the sentence will still be complete. But what made him to refuse eating for 3 days? It was because he has been disappointed by the party outcome of the election. Number four, being the first garment of in his town, to lose things the world begins and ends with him. So these are the examples I get in there. The man thinking everybody loves him speaks about his plans publicly. Number six, provoked to act in favor of the poor. The governor signed the bill that will empower the masses. Number seven, while I'm biggest, pacified by the new contract, switch their allegiance to her, and the like that. Then let's talk about the clear differences between the gerundive phrase and participial phrase. Number one thing we talk about here is function. Function. A gerundive phrase function as a noun, a participial phrase function as an adjective. Another thing is role in sentence. They have different roles in a sentence. While a gerundive phrase can act as a subject, object, or complement in a sentence, a participial phrase can only modify a noun or pronoun. A noun or pronoun. Another one is meaning. Meaning contribution. What meaning do they contribute? A gerundive phrase names an activity or an idea. For instance, swimming is my hobby. Swimming is an activity. Gerundive phrase naming. Swimming is my hobby. However, particular phrase describes or gives additional information. I can say a passion or a hobby, comma, swimming in a pool. Are you getting this now? A passion. So I want to describe a passion. I want to give additional information about a passion, which is a noun, that is swimming in a pool. You get it now? So one names an activity, one describes or gives additional information about an activity. Another one is position in the sentence. Position in the sentence. A gerundive phrase can appear in a position typical of a noun or of nouns. That is, any place that you can see a noun, any place that a noun can function or can appear is the same place that a gerundive phrase can appear because it functions typically like a noun. However, gerundive phrase must be placed close to a noun it modifies just to avoid ambiguity because it gives an additional information about a noun, then it must be placed close to a noun that it talks about. Number five, now let us do a test for identification. Don't forget, while I was speaking earlier, I said that gerundive phrase, because it's spoken like a noun, and a noun can be replaced by a pronoun. That shows that a gerundive phrase should also be replaced by a pronoun and it should also be meaningful, even having been replaced. So if the phrase can be replaced with if the phrase can be replaced with it is likely a gerundive phrase. We are going to do the test. Then number two, if the phrase answer the question which one or what kind, it is a participial phrase. Example for the contrast now. Reading books improves the mind. Reading books improves the mind. Then let us replace reading books, which is considered to be a what? A gerundive phrase with it. I can say it improves the mind. Does it make any sense? Yes, it still makes sense. It improves the mind. Now that is tell you that what it is a gerund. But adjective can never be replaced by pronoun. Let us test it. And that's one of the ways you can know if it's adjective or if it's what a noun. Reading books, comma, the student relax under the tree. Reading books. Can we say it, comma, the student relax under the tree? It does not make any sense. That's straight what? This one is what? A participial phrase, not a gerundive phrase. A participial phrase, not a gerundive phrase. Let us remove it. The student relax under the tree. Does it make any sense? Yes, it still makes sense. But what made them to relax under the tree? Reading books made them to relax under the tree. That is, it gives an additional information on what made them to relax under the tree. Reading books. Here, reading books describe the student, so it is a particular phrase. I am begging you, if this thing has made you understood the difference between participial phrase and gerundive phrase, I implore you to please subscribe to my channel, share to others to benefit, and like. If there's anything that is not clear to you, put it in the comment section. And if there's any topic that is not clear to you in this topic, GST 111, put it in the comment section. I'm going to make a video on this. Thank you so much for staying with me to the end.